Hello and welcome to this video on how to write a good introduction. My name is Maria and I'm a peer tutor at the LMU Writing Center. I hope this video will answer many of your questions about introductions. Please enjoy. Before we go into the different sections of an introduction, let me give you some general info. There is no one way to write an introduction. What constitutes a good introduction may differ based on the kind of paper you're writing and the academic discipline in which you're writing it. If you're unsure what kind of introduction is expected, ask your professor. This video focuses on research papers in the linguistic sciences and literary studies. When you have finished your research and you start writing your paper, you can, but you don't have to start with writing the introduction. Once you have a thesis statement or research question and an idea how you want to structure your paper, start with whichever part you feel most confident and comfortable with and work from there. For me personally, writing the introduction last works best because I already know the final phrasing of my thesis statement, structure and argumentation. Also, I know which things I still want to include in the paper that won't fit in anywhere else. Everyone has different writing methods. Don't be unnerved if my or someone else's method doesn't work for you. The length of your introduction should be about 10 to 15% of your entire paper. For example, if you're writing a 5-page essay analyzing a single text, your beginning should be brief, no more than 1 or 2 paragraphs. On the other hand, it may take a couple of pages to set up a 10-page research paper. An introduction is the most important and most difficult part of a research paper. Your introduction informs your reader of the context and your stance on the subject. The introduction provides background information, lays out the scope and objectives of the paper, and states the thesis. After reading the introduction, the reader must have a clear understanding of what to expect from the rest of your research paper. The following sections should be included in your research paper. The order of the sections can of course be changed as long as they remain logical. First, introduce your topic. Your first sentence should introduce your topic. It should lead the reader into your paper and give a good sense of what it will be about. We will look at ideas for introductory statements later. In addition to introducing your topic, your beginning should also indicate the central issue. Give your reader the background information they need to understand your topic and argument. Depending on the focus of your paper, you should provide historical, geographical or social context, define important, unfamiliar or disputed terms, and briefly summarize the current state of research, renowned theories or debates, and gaps in the literature. Letting your reader know what your essay is about also means that you should establish a clear frame within which you will approach your topic. Outline the specific issue you will analyze against the broader context and narrow down your paper's focus. You can clearly state what your paper will not include in order to make sure that your reader has a clear understanding of your paper's focus. By the end of this section, your reader should know what you're writing about and why. Second, explain your primary sources and theories. Provide your reader with a brief summary of your primary sources and an overview of your most important theories. Also explain your reasons for conducting research and the significance and your insights of your work. It will give your reader a clearer understanding of where your paper is situated in the academic field. Third, formulate a thesis statement. Although it is only 1 sentence long, the thesis statement is the most important part of your introduction. The thesis statement encapsulates your paper's main idea. It should concisely state your paper's main focus and objectives. It is your paper's overarching argument and may identify some of your paper's segments. Think of it as an itinerary. It tells your reader where the paper is going and how it will get there. The thesis statement should also convey your stance towards the topic you will analyze. Often your thesis statement is an answer to your research question or derived from it. Try to summarize the point of your paper in a single, clear and concise sentence. That sentence is your thesis statement. Of course, if necessary, the thesis statement can be revised as your writing process continues and you gain new insights and may change your argumentation. Every paragraph in the main body and the conclusion should ultimately connect back to your thesis statement. Your paper may include background information necessary for a better understanding of your argument, but ultimately, all content should support your thesis statement. For that reason, the thesis statement usually can be found towards the end of the introduction. 4. Structure and argumentation. The last part of your introduction usually is an overview of your paper's logical structure and arguments. Concisely tell your reader what you will do in your research paper and how. When you're finished writing the entire paper, check and revise. Usually, as you write your paper, you will gain new insights and your argument might change focus or direction. At times, you may even want to change your thesis. Regardless of when you write your introduction, make sure to take a look at it after you finish writing your entire paper and to check that it still matches the contents of your paper. Make sure that the information in your introduction is necessary and relevant. Let's briefly recap. Here's a quick checklist for all sections of the introduction. Ask yourself these questions after you finished your introduction to see if you missed something. Is my first sentence engaging and relevant? Do I include all necessary background information? Do I define all important terms? Do I briefly summarize the current state of research? Does my thesis statement clearly reflect my research paper's focus? Is everything in the introduction relevant to the main body of the paper? Before we end, let's take a quick look at good opening statements. First sentences often include specific facts and information or a keynote quotation. If your primary source is a work of fiction, you can also start your introduction with a one-sentence summary, followed by a problem definition your primary source highlights, if it relates to your paper's focus. If you decide, for example, to quote from your primary source, make sure to explain that quote and its relevance to your topic in the following sentences. While your first sentence should capture your reader's attention, even more importantly, it should be relevant to your topic and directly related to your focus. A catchy quote that does not help establish the context of your topic and is irrelevant to your later argumentation will only mislead your reader and blur your focus. Be as direct and specific as you can be. Conversely, you should avoid openings that do not clearly establish the focus of your paper. Your first sentence sets the tone for the whole essay, so it should be precise and relevant. An opening that starts with overly general information that hardly connects to your later arguments is not a good way to start an academic research paper. An example of this type of introduction is the funnel opening. It starts with one or two very general sentences and narrows the information down to the paper's specific topic. Only the last sentence clearly states what your paper will focus on. While this method may seem useful to introduce background information, remember that your reader will not yet be aware of your paper's focus and objectives. It's better to establish your focus first and then include background information. That way, you can be sure that the information you include will be relevant to your argumentation and not too general. Well, this is the video on how to write a good introduction. I hope you enjoyed it and it helped you a lot with your introductions. Thanks so much for watching.